Hey, good morning, and welcome to the first episode of Catholics at Home in the year 2022. I'm Mag. Happy New Year from the team. Now, I hope it's not too late to wish you a Happy New Year, okay? But this is the first time I'm seeing you this year, so there should be somewhat of an exception, okay? So happy New Year from all of us at Catholics at Home. Now, I hope the year has been good for you thus far. And as always, we thank you so much for making time for us every Saturday morning to be with us on Catholics at Home podcast. Now, as we kick off the brand new year, it is inevitable for most of us to come up with plans, resolutions of what we hope to achieve in this whole year, right? And today, that's what the show is all about. Okay, but before I bring on our guest for today and jump in on how we're going to do this year, let's bring on our Catholics at Home resident priest, Father Clarence Davidas. Hi,
Hello, Meg.
Father. Happy New Year. I hope it's not too late.
No, it's not. Happy 2022. So many twos in it.
2020. I know. How's the first 15 days treated you, Father? Can you believe it's been 15 days already? It's like half a year, half a month gone by.
Yeah, I think since the last time we met at the end of December with our Christmas show,
Yeah.
which was, over the Christmas period, I heard a lot of nice things, very, very, very nice, uplifting things about our Christmas special, Oh Holy Night special. Really great. I think it kind of brought a little bit of something to look forward to for people as they came into 2022. And like you said, 15 days gone by, just the blink of an eye. I mean, and the year will run by very quickly, just like it has been all these years, isn't it? But it's been good.
It seems to get faster and faster every year, don't you think, Father?
I don't know whether it's getting faster or our lives are getting more hectic, that we have less free time for ourselves. I mean, even for me, like you already know, we have moved parishes. And, getting into a new parish, it's always, both like excitement and anxiety, Some days you wake up with more excitement. Some days you wake up with more anxiety. It's not knowing what's going to happen or what you expected to do. But yeah, for me, I think this year will go by very quickly. Getting to know the parishioners, getting into, as you would say, into the groove of things. And
so how are you settling in, Father? It's been almost a week being in your new parish.
I think for me, it's about just feeding the pulse of the parish. At least for the first couple of months, it's going to be that. It's very hard for me. I usually don't jump in with all these big plans in my head, though I may have some directions that I would like to pray about and to move towards. But I think it's about getting the pulse of the parish, getting to know the people that you would have to minister, the people that you have to work with. And I think that's very important. For me, that's very important. So this next few months is just that, with the social distancing in whatever way it's possible, just to meet up with people, listen to them, hear them out. People have a lot of things they have their expectations. So I think one of the challenges is managing people's expectations. When a new priest comes in, Father, they've got a long list of things. Father, you should be doing all these things, Father. I say, oh, no, hold on. I said, first few months, let's all let's chill a little bit and let's get to know each other. I need to know them and they need to know me. Let's not forget.
Absolutely.
They need to know me also. So that's what is going to be the next couple of months for me.
It's going to be an exciting year for you, I'm sure, with all the plans and also all the plans that we have for Catholics at Home as well. So yeah, let's wait and see what the year unfolds. Now, I'd like to welcome you from wherever you may be watching us from, be it from the Archdiocese of KL, the Archdiocese of Melaka, Johor, Singapore, the Archdiocese of Penang, the Archdiocese of Miri, or wherever, okay, wherever you're watching us, holler at us, let us know, and a special warm welcome if you're watching us for the very first time too. Thank you so much for making this our, putting it aside, especially for us. We really, really are very grateful. So now, earlier I asked, right? Earlier I mentioned we make New Year resolutions, we make New Year plans. Father, do you make resolutions too every year?
No, Meg, I've come to a point in my life, no more New Year resolutions because the resolutions don't last very long.
I know, me too. I've given up on resolutions.
I think my resolution is not to make a resolution.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So if you've made a resolution, if you made plans for this year, tell us in the comments section below. And while you do that, I think, Father, it's about time we kick off the topic for today. What do you think? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So this morning's topic is New Year, New You, planning for the new year. And it brings me great pleasure to bring on our guest for today. He's been a corporate trainer for more than 20 years. He has a heart of gold and is always looking out to help those around him. He's pleasant, he's influential, and he truly does speak from his heart. I'm honored to call him my friend, and he truly does inspire me. Let's welcome the CEO of the Jungle People, John Kam. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you again, Meg. Good morning. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy
Hi,
New
John.
Year. Welcome to Catholics at Home. Thank you so much for putting aside some time for us this morning.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, John, I asked Father if he's made resolutions. Well, both of us have given up on resolutions. What about you? Do you make resolutions, John Kam?
Okay, so here's the first tip. Never ask a trainer whether he has resolutions or not. Okay, that's trade secrets. Trade secrets. But do I have New Year resolutions? I tend to go with, well, I heard Father Clarence just now say, New Year resolutions don't stay very long. So from a personal perspective, I actually don't have that many New Year resolutions. From a business perspective, however, it's done every year. It's done every year.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
it really depends on, you're asking me as what?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you as a corporate trainer and as a businessman, what is your usual to-do list when you kick off the new year? I mean, clearly you said, as personally, you don't have a New Year's resolution, but how do you plan out for the year? What's your customary practice like?
Okay, so I'm going to take some of my words back and say, now on hindsight, now that I think of it, I probably do have some resolutions. I don't have a lot of plans, but I probably do have some resolutions as an individual. And maybe later on we can drill into the difference between a resolution and a plan, right? But typically from a business perspective, for myself as well as I would probably say for 100% of my clients, the year end and the beginning of the year is a special time of the year where, there's a lot of reflection going on. There's a lot of analysis of past year's achievements, what we've done, what we've not done, what we've managed to get, what we've not managed to get, and so on and so forth. So there's the whole element of looking at the past 12 months, in this case, 2021, which I still can't believe that we are already in 2022. I'm still grappling with the fact that, what? MCO?
You're getting older.
What happened? And yes, thank you very much, Meg. Every time I meet Meg once a year, she reminds me that I'm getting older.
We all are, John. Don't worry, we all are.
I know. Not a bad thing, I suppose.
From the day you are born, you're getting older every day.
Yeah.
I know, right? I think the more important question is, are we getting wiser as we're getting older? I think that's the more important question.
Absolutely.
Because one is not something that you can avoid, but the other one is not something guaranteed either, isn't it?
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of reflection going on, and especially this year and last year. So last year, this year, was a very unique time, obviously, for most businesses because things have not been going according to plan. Things have changed. The landscape has changed. And therefore, the planning phase is now more critical than ever. So short answer to your question would be there is a whole lot of planning. And in fact, in the beginning of the year, there's probably that whole emphasis on, for some organizations, execution already. Ideally, you should have your plans largely in place. And now is the time when you get into gear and you start to execute some of those plans as a business. But realistically, for most businesses now, it's still part of the planning phase.
Okay. All right. So now that you've told us that and you've gotten us slowly into it, is there a right and wrong way to plan for the new year?
Okay, so and this is all just based on personal perspectives and personal learnings over the years that I've been doing training and that I've been working with corporate leaders and people that are deemed successful, I suppose, fairly senior people in the market, right? And generally, I feel that there are two kinds of mentality that people go into when we talk about planning for the new year. And New Year resolutions being the most common thing that people always talk about at the end of the year. What's the New Year resolution? Issue with the New Year resolution is it seldom goes beyond
3 months.
The first month, like 3 months if you're pretty.
3 months, very good already.
3 months is pretty good. Yeah. 3 months is pretty good. And typically every year, the number one New Year resolution globally
lose weight.
Yeah, there you go. or resolusi yang sewaktu dengannya, right? Where lose weight, be more healthy, go to the gym more, get fitter. Those kind of resolutions, they tend to be number one pretty much every year. And for Malaysia, I think it lasts from until Chinese New Year because that's where the food and the cookies and everything comes into place. So it doesn't really last. So a New Year resolution it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. The issue is it's a general, I call it a general intention. Okay. So a New Year resolution versus a plan, a resolution is a general intention. Again, not necessarily a bad thing. It sort of tells us that we want to change the way we live our lives in almost every factor. I want to become fitter. I want to become healthier. And that's a resolution. Not a bad thing. However, why is it that most of us don't have those resolutions last beyond the month? Now, in order to answer that question, we've got to look at the concept of success or the concept of results. How do we get results? And results are a combination of factors from the mind, a combination of factors from your behavior, and a combination of your habits. And they're all interlinked because the way your mind thinks impacts the behaviors that you demonstrate, and the behaviors that you repeat on a regular basis becomes habits. Habits are the ones that gets results. Behaviors don't really get much results. Behaviors, if you're lucky, to get you low-hanging fruits, quick, simple results that are easily sowed, easily reaped, and then you don't get to reap them over again. That's why they call low-hanging fruits. So the idea of results comes when there are habits established. And guess how long it takes to establish new habits?
21 days.
Wild guess, man. Come on. 21 days. You're very optimistic. So
probably
most a year.
What is this? A year? Wow.
Father very pessimistic. Meg very optimistic.
So now we need to hear from you the middle ground, John. So we need
the middle and middle ground is exactly what it needs to be, right? It's apparently for some people it's between 60 to 100 days. For some people it could be a little bit longer. So generally, I'm going to say about 3 months, 3 to 6 months before you establish it becomes a habit. So for the first 100 days, it essentially means you're trying to do something that you are not used to doing. You're may not have done before. It's not part of your psyche, which means there's enforcement issues, you have disciplinary issues, and you have to force yourself to do it. The good news is after the 100 days, you don't have to force yourself quite so much anymore because it's become embedded in the way you live. It's become routinized in your life. The problem is, as it, we don't last that 100 days. Now that's where the plan needs to come in. So what is the plan versus a resolution, New Year or otherwise, right? It doesn't have to be during New Year's. It's a nice time to do it, but it doesn't have to happen during New Year's. So the difference between a plan and a resolution. I said resolution is a general intention. A plan is for a focused achievement.
Okay.
So the difference here is now the zooming in of intention. So I want to get healthier, general intention. Zooming in, my plan is to lose 5 kilos in the next 3 months. That's a zoomed in intention. Is it a plan yet? Not yet. You've got some of it, but you need to have the elements. So one tried and tested methodology that has stood the test of time is the SMART, the SMART goals. I'm sure some of you who are listening in are probably familiar with that, right? So goals have got to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So are your goals specific? Get healthier, not very specific. Are they measurable? Get healthier, not measurable. Lose 5 kilos, measurable. You got me? So specific, measurable. Are they attainable, realistic? Are you building castles in the air, or is it something that is actually doable? So is it attainable? Is it relevant? Is it relevant to you as a person? Is it relevant to your lifestyle? Is it relevant to your career, to what you want to achieve now? And is it time bound? How long a time are you going to take to reach some of these goals that you've set? So if you have all of this into place, then it's starting to become a plan. So the difference between a resolution and a plan, for me, is just the amount of detail that you put into the actions that you intend to take. Resolutions generally don't have a lot of detail. They tend to cover every element of your life. You know, whenever I can, whenever possible, as much as I can, and statements like that generally gives you an idea that it's a resolution. A plan is way more detailed. Okay, so for success, can you have a resolution and have a decent amount of success? Yeah, depends on what your definition of success is. But yes, you can. Some people are naturally more disciplined and they say, you know what, I'm going to become fitter. I'm going to spend more time with my kids, you know, build better relationships. And they actually do it. They do it whenever they can and wherever they can. Some people actually do that. But for most of us, zooming in and actually building a more detailed and a more focused plan generally brings in better results.
Wow. That's
But
very
just
detailed.
listening, just hearing you, John. I mean, one of the things you talk about the SMART, and and when you say 100 days to form habits, you know, I'm just reminded that, you know, like the new government comes with the first 100 days. Is that where they get the 100-day figure from? To forming habits. Anyway, I mean,
this one, we don't want to talk about politics. We're never going to finish it in the next 2 hours.
talk about 100 days. So where do people get 100 days from now to form habits? No, but just listening to you, I was thinking like, yeah, I guess the whatever resolutions you make and the actions that correspond to that resolution, it has to be intentional, isn't it? I mean, I think that's what I hear. Otherwise, it just becomes like building castles in the air. I mean, you just have this brick idea with no support systems or structures put in place. You know, I remember this. I remember this, you know, growing up. One of the things, you know, every year you make this resolution. Okay, this year I'm going to read the Bible cover to cover. You know, first week, wow, Book of Genesis, semangat only read all. You know, but then you come to the end of the first month, like, you're already passing into Book of Exodus and Deuteronomy. It's getting a bit boring now. The exciting, not you give up, you know, quite easily. Also because, you know, the circumstances or the environment that one finds oneself in doesn't change.
Yeah.
So you fall back to your bad habits, like you say. I mean, okay, diet. I'm going to lose weight. Hey, within a month, just Christmas fruitcake may not have finished. Also, you're just finishing it, and the tarts. And New Year and Chinese New Year is coming, and then okay, love letters. Time for love letters now. Okay, lah, never mind lah. Just just another couple of days.
Just one.
Just one. So it has to be very intentional, very disciplined to form habits.
Absolutely, and it's interesting because listening to Father Clarence, right? I am triggered to share that when most of us share our plans, or when most of us build our plans, we usually build it at the moment of strong motivation.
Yeah.
Right, year in, the holidays, this whole psychological feel about Christmas coming and a new beginning. Yeah, they tend to be very motivated, and they build plans when they are feeling motivated, and therefore the plans are quite high flying, strong intentions. One mistake that I feel that a lot of people make is that they don't plan for the bad times. They fail to plan for the times when they know I'm going to be demotivated. They know I'm going to be tested. They know I'm going to be tempted. They know I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to be tired. And these things are going to come. So if I'm planning for weight loss in the beginning of the year, and I know Chinese New Year is going to come at the end of the month, I better have a plan for that and how I'm going to respond to the environment around me in that particular situation. I get to ease it off and be okay with easing it off, because after that I'm going to zoom right back in, or I'm going to have system and structures in place so that I can intentionally be able to say, no, I'm not going to do this, but I will be able to do this. But my point is, you got to have a plan for those times. Reading the Bible cover to cover. The plan for me has got to cover. What do you do when you know I'm going to get bored? I'm really going to get bored in a couple of weeks. Do you have a plan of what you're going to do during those times? That part of the plan for most people in most things, I think, is missing. And it's very optimistic to think that we're not going to be tested in that manner. And I can tell you now, you probably are in whatever plans that you've got.
No, I was just listening to you. I was just wondering, and you say these things. Probably in pre-pandemic days, you always see gyms and weight loss programs having great promos towards the end of the year. Because people are most vulnerable at that time, I guess, from listening just what you were saying. You feel guilty, even reading the Bible, for example. You feel guilty. You look back at the year and say, "Oh, I've not done anything. I've not prayed enough. Okay, I want to change. I'm going to do this." So year end is also a time of vulnerability, isn't it? I mean, so and I guess gyms and weight loss programs, they know the human weakness, and then they have all these promotions coming out, and people sign up for 15 months, 12 months, and then by the second month you're not going anymore. But coming back to a little bit more, you talk about corporate planning. Of course, corporate planning, there's always it's quantifiable because based on profits, how you want to lead the company, how you want to take it to another level. Personal plans, resolutions, sometimes it's hard to quantify also. John, you yourself, being a believer in that sense, I just want to kind of ask a question a little bit about, how do we work this out in tandem with our faith? What role does God play in all of this, especially personal goals, personal development? Otherwise, we can be very materialistic driven in a world like this and be caught in a kind of a crazy rat race to achieve certain things. How do you blend these two things? I mean, you're a man of faith also yourself, and you coach a lot of CEOs. I'm sure probably they also. Are you have some thoughts on this, John?
I do, but it's not going to be an easy question to answer, right? Because I think for me personally, and I speak for myself only. Personally, how do I combine faith and business? Well, I think faith needs to be at the center of the business. Your values needs to be at the center of the business. You're not necessarily in the business to. How do I put this? You're not necessarily in the spiritual business, but whatever business that you build, I think needs to be built on biblical principles, if you're a believer. So that's one. The other thing is when you make decisions and you make plans, I think it's important to be guided by a set of philosophies and a set of personal values and personal principles. And it then stands to reason that if you are a believer, then those principles and those values needs to be aligned and guided by biblical principles. And whatever business decisions that you make, for me, has to align with that. And if it doesn't align with that, then it's obviously not a decision that you can make, no matter how tempting it is. And I say tempting because in the business world, it can get pretty tempting. If you, let's say, give a bribe. If I give a bribe, I get a $5 million ringgit contract. Should I give a bribe? But if I follow my plans according to the plans for the year, if I give this bribe, I'm going to hit those plans. I'm going to hit those numbers. I'm going to hit those targets. So why not? Can you do that? And I'm going to say, I'm not going to judge anybody else, but I will say that we don't, simply because it goes against the principles and the values that the company was founded upon. So while we say the plan and the goals really form the direction that you're pushing pushing the organization towards, I think it's also important to remember the foundation of the organization and what the organization was built on, and to, as best as possible, we're all human, sometimes we fail, but as best as possible to stick to those principles, especially when it's the bad times, right? I find it's not so bad, because during the bad times, you fall back on those principles. It's during the good times when people are throwing money at you, people are throwing good business at you, and they're saying, hey, if you do this, I'll give you that. If you do this, I'll give you this. That's where you got to hold on to the principles more than ever. So I'm not sure if I answered that question, but yeah, a lot of prayer, I suppose, and surrounding yourself with people who hold those similar values. And from a business perspective, they may or may not be believers, but we've somehow managed to align ourselves with a set of clients, with a set of people that have good values, good principles. And if you mix around with that group of people more, then the chances of you not sort of straying or being supported in those values and principles becomes much, much higher. So on that same basis, I feel that for people who are trying to achieve success in their goals and their plans, one key tip that I always share with them is watch your friends. Who are the people that you're mixing around with? And the people that you're mixing around with, are they people who share that same goal and who share that same plan, or who share that same philosophy? So if you're trying to lose weight, are you sharing most of your time? Are you spending most of your time with people who are healthy, who have good eating habits? Or are you spending most of your time with people who are foodies, who travel every day, 20 kilometers out of our house to visit 5 different hawkers in a day, and those are their goals? So, from that basis, I think where faith is concerned, if you spend more time with the people who have the same principles and values as you, you tend to have a support group, and therefore more likely to achieve the goals that you set out to achieve. But that's me anyway.
The core values, I guess you're referring to. I think each one of us would have to set our core values and to stick with them, no matter what, through trials and tribulations. I think for me that's what really characterizes a person. You hold on to a set of values, and no matter what is thrown in your way, you believe in that principle. Like you said, I mean, it's very tempting out there. It's very tempting to sway to what the world thinks. I mean, I used to use this dichotomy between what the world thinks and what God wants of us in a kind of a very loose way. I use that kind of dichotomy, but I really agree with you in that holding on to those core values and to surround yourself with people who share those values. Like you said, I mean, if you are planning to lose weight and you are surrounded by people who are eating out every day, it's not going to work. The temptation.
Do not hang around me. Do not hang around me.
No offense to anybody, right? It's just you've got to sometimes make the choice of the kind of people that you're mixing with and the kind of goals that you set for yourself. And if the goals that you set for yourself are meaningful, important, and a large priority in your life, and then the people that you're currently mixing around with doesn't support that set of goals, then there is a misalignment, and hard choices have got to be made. So you either rework your choice of goals or you rework your choice of friends. And that's the hard reality.
Yeah. And that's a hard decision to make as well. It's not going to be easy at all.
Hard. Why do you think smokers find it so difficult to stop smoking?
Yep, absolutely. You're right.
Smoking is a social activity. You know, they come on, yeah, have a stick, get a stick. And they're like, no, I'm trying to quit. What nonsense are you talking? You know what? Quit. Just take the stick and go. Come on, let's go. So that pressure people find it really difficult to stop.
I think when it comes to even losing weight, it's the same thing. You know, if you come from a family who likes to eat and they're like, what? You're trying to lose weight? No, eat this. I cooked your favorite dish. What do you mean you don't want to eat? How can you offend me?
It's the mothers.
I know, right?
Why you eat so little? Huh? Why you eat so little? I used to get that from my mom. Why you eat so little? Why you say, Mom, like I'm not exactly small size, you know. Why you eat so little?
And you don't like my cooking? You don't like my food?
You're offending me.
So you gotta get these people on your side. You gotta get these people on your side. You gotta, and it's interesting because and I've seen people who are trying to smoke, and then I've seen the smoker friends around them. I've also seen this person hold on to it, and after they hold on long enough, right, the people around them, the smokers, sort of say, "Don't disturb him lah. Don't disturb me anymore. Go." And then they learn, look, I don't have the goal of stopping smoking, but he does. So let's go smoke somewhere else. So if you hold on long enough, people see that you're actually serious in it. The good news is they after a while come around and they either don't mix around with you anymore or they support you in those goals. Either way, not a bad thing.
Yeah. So that is the goal. That's the resolution, to change the people around you so that they support you.
Yeah, well, I'm listening to Father Clarence, right? And I really like, in terms of principles and values, I sometimes think that maybe your year-end resolution for all of you who are listening in, maybe not so much materialistic, but maybe it's time to take stock of what are your personal principles and personal values in life. Can you write them down? Because those become your line in the sand, right? That's your line that you draw that you will not cross. And if you're not reflecting and not thinking enough of these values and of these principles, then the chances are very likely that you're going to cross them. Even though you deep down didn't intend to, or parents never taught you that way, and so on and so forth. So if you don't write them down, chances are that you may, overstep the boundaries. So instead of New Year resolutions in terms of achievements, how much I want to get this year, the promotions that I'm trying to get, where do I want to go for my holidays, maybe it's time to reflect on, say, what are my values, what are my principles, 2022, what kind of principles do I want to display more of? I think everybody, myself included, need to do a bit more of that.
A stock take, so to say.
Of the principles in your life.
John, so right, looking back at everything you've said and what Father said as well, is there even a point to make a resolution at the beginning of the year, or it could be made at any time of the year? Because there's a group of people who say you don't need resolutions at the beginning of the year. If you feel like you want to do something, you can do it whenever you want. It could be tomorrow. It could be at this moment, the spur of the moment itself. You can make that change.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I think any time is better than no time. So starting today, if it's the new year and you're moved to start a resolution because it's the new year, go for it. It's the middle of the year and you're moved to it, go for it. And for people who say no point doing a new year resolution, why do you want to do that? You can do it anytime. Hey, if the person wants to start it during the new year, let him start lah. What's your problem? You're not hurt by that. Why can't we extend support for that person instead of pouring cold water and saying, it's a waste of time and so on and so forth, right? There's really no point to it. If the person intends to start, and if in my view, any time is a good time to start, then I'm going to also say that any time is a good time to extend support for anybody who wants to start anything at any point in time. Reason why people choose to do New Year resolutions is because of the environment around us, right? Yeah. It's more supportive of planning and resolutions at the year end and the beginning of the year, because everybody does it. Because from a business perspective, you're on leave, you've achieved your goals or you've not achieved your targets. It's too late to do anything about it right now. Therefore, it's a good time to stop, think about what you've achieved, what you've done. And because businesses tend to start in financial year in January to December, for most organizations, it's also a good time to say, okay, January, since the company is moving in this way, these are my targets, these are my KPIs. Personally, I also want to be able to think of something, etc., etc. School is starting, you just have the environment where it triggers people to think about new plans, resolutions, and so on. Not a bad thing. But if you say, can I do resolutions at other times? Yeah, go for it, man. Anytime is a good time.
All right. Fadil, do you have anything to say? It seems like you're deep in thought.
Deep in thought.
No, I think we have so many occasions to reflect. It doesn't have to be a new year. It can be a birthday, an anniversary, a new job. I mean, a new assignment for me. I think there are so many opportunities. I mean, for us Christians, and then there's the season of Lent that comes afterwards. Like what John says, I think any time is a good time. It doesn't have to. I mean, all the stars don't have to align, in order for you to make that change. But I like what John says in the sense that there are lots of people out there who are very pessimistic. In the sense that they pour cold water on if you are excited to do something. Sometimes I believe that's what we need. We not the pouring of the cold water, but friends who really support you, even though they may not agree with, maybe they don't want to be on board with you on that plan, but who support you. That's something that, I was just thinking with John was saying, even for a lot of us, the people around us that keeps us going. I've even as a priest, I've had so many occasions when people just come up to you and they say, you've been doing this. Have you done this for this year? And suddenly you kind of, you realize, hey, I've kind of slackened in this area, and then I need to keep going. And it doesn't really matter with this new year. I think this new year hype is, I don't know how it came about, but it's something that everybody talks about, a New Year resolution.
It's a new beginning, Father. They take it as another opportunity, a new opportunity to do something, I guess.
I suppose so. I mean, when you're in school, it's a new school year.
Yeah.
You're going into when you were young, it's all excitement. School year, new uniform, new tech.
Maybe shoes. It could have stemmed from that, though, Father. I mean, possibly. When you go to school, right, in the new year, you're in a new standard. You're learning new things. So people, I don't know, it could have.
It's also the turning of the seasons.
Yeah.
Right. You've got winter coming to an end. Spring coming in. For us, rainy season, flood. Way to end the year, right? Floods, and now hopefully in January, floods slowly receding, and it's cyclical.
Yeah.
And because it's cyclical, sort of signifies a new point.
Oops.
Oh, we've lost John. Okay, Father. So since we've lost John,
perhaps John's New Year resolution should be to get better internet connection. We should ask him afterwards.
He said that it only happens on this particular app, so maybe we'll see what happens.
It's very interesting because it kind of like resonates with what, even in our own liturgical cycle, the calendar, we start with Advent coming in, and then Christmas, and then we go into, from feasting. I always say that, from feasting in Advent, we go to fasting in Lent.
Yeah.
And in some ways, not just reducing this whole resolution to about losing weight. I don't know how come you got hijacked in that direction, but setting goals for oneself. And I like the way John says, achievable goals. Sometimes we need that even in our own faith life. Like I said, when I was young, read the Bible to cover. It never. Let me be very honest. It never happened. I would kind of give up very quickly. It only happened much later when I joined the seminary.
I have failed many times, Father.
But John, would you say that, if you, let's say you take if I may use this word, if you take bite-sized steps, small things before you arrive at the bigger things, is that something that helps you achieve the goals that you set? Because sometimes we want to just take on the whole world and change everything about ourselves, and we end up not changing. I want to lose weight. I want to achieve this. I want to do that. Is it something that we should think about? Just look at something that is more achievable on a short term, gives you some satisfaction, and then you are inspired to go to the next step. What are your thoughts, John?
Absolutely. So there are two concepts that are sort of interrelated that I'd like to share. And this was from my experience setting goals for myself and for the team, as well as during the training programs that we design for our clients, right? So many years ago, I was with a group of ladies, largely ladies, and their CEO and COO had challenged us 6 months ago to say, John, can you bring these guys up the mountain? And he was talking about Gunung Kinabalu. And I in the beginning, I was kind of iffy about it, because we were talking about ladies who in the first place, they weren't young. Sorry, ladies, if you're listening to this, they weren't young. They weren't exactly in the most physically fit condition. But we had about 6 months, 8 months kind of lead time, and therefore we drilled and we physically pushed them. And I'm not a fitness trainer, and we don't do this all the time. We're more in the corporate boardroom more than anything else. But because this was a leadership program that said, here's the end goal, we took it upon ourselves, and we did a lot of stuff. So long story short, when we reached the mountain, there was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of hesitation, a lot of anxiety among the ladies as to, John, I don't know whether we can make it up. John, I don't know. John, do you think I'm going to die? Literally, somebody asked me, John, do you think I'm going to die? I don't want to die. And there was a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, because the mountain was a big mountain. If you've never been there, let me tell you, your first view of this giant rock that's covering your whole horizon is a pretty intimidating view. A lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And they were very focused then on, I don't know if I can get to the top. I don't know if I can get to the top. I don't know if I can get to the top. And at that point in time, what just struck me was, okay, you don't know if you can get to the top. Do you know if you can take one step? And they said, yeah, of course I can take one step. I can take more than one step. And that became a mantra for us throughout the whole journey. Take a step. So how do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. How do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. You can't climb the whole mountain? Never mind. Can you take one step? Okay, can. Take a step. Take a step. Take a step, take a step, take a step. So breaking down big goals into smaller goals is probably a much wiser thing to do for your own psyche, your own mentality, as well as for the practical implementation of your plans. And when the mind sees that I can take a step, the mind tells the body, I will take a step. Remember, it's mindset, behaviors, habits, goals. So when the mind says, you know what, I can do a step, I can do a couple of steps, and the mind keeps thinking I can do a couple of steps, and then the behavior takes a couple of steps, and this becomes a habit, and that couple of steps continues for a couple of hours. Guess what? At the end of 5, 6, 7 hours, you're at the top of the mountain. So in the corporate world, there are two types of goals, or two types of indicators that we talk about when people start to plan. And I don't want to get technical, but just really quickly, they're called leading indicators and lagging indicators, right? Now, lagging indicators are things like, I want to get fitter and I want to lose 10 kilos. Why are they called lagging? It's called a lagging indicator because this indicator comes, whether you're successful or not, it comes after the plan has been executed, or it comes after the timeline in which the plan was supposed to be executed. So I want to lose 10 kilos in 10 months. In 10 months time, I put myself on the weighing machine and I weigh myself and I say, yes, no, fail, succeed. Did I hit 10 kilos? Did I not hit 10 kilos? And if you hit it, good for you. If you didn't, 10 months already passed, nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do is to focus in the next couple of months, for example. So they're called lagging indicators. And read the Bible end to end is a lagging indicator. Okay, it's a lagging indicator. This year I want to read Bible end to end. End of the year I look back and say, didn't do it. Or end of the year I look at it and say, woo, achieved it. But it's lagging because it comes after the duration of the period of execution that we were looking at. What's more important for all of us is to be aware of what we call leading indicators are. Now, leading indicators are the things that you need to do in order for you to get to the lagging indicator. So, and this is in line with what Father Clarence pointed out. Can we break the larger goals into the small goals? And this is me putting Father on the spot and say, if I want to read the Bible end to end, then on a daily basis, I should be reading how many pages?
Oh, quite a lot. I mean, quite a few chapters, 5-6 chapters a day.
Okay, 5-6 chapters a day. Yeah. Right, 5-6 chapters a day. And your plan then needs to revolve around the 5-6 chapters a day, not the end to end in a year. So if you're in sales, and those of you who are listening, sorry, I'm more used to corporate goals, right? So if you're in sales and you say, I want to get 10 million in sales this year, for example, that's a lagging indicator, 10 million in sales by the end of the year. A leading indicator are the factors. What are the factors that influence that 10 million? Is it the number of people that you meet? Is it the amount of coffees that you have with clients? Is it the number of phone calls that you make? Now, all of these are leading indicators. So when you make your plan around make 20 calls a day, meet 5 people this week, and so on and so forth. And you manage and you focus on those areas. And you don't worry so much about 10 million this year, 10 million this year, because there's nothing much you can do about that until the end of the year. And then you got to take a stock shot and see whether you're actually achieving that or not. So when people overly focus their emotions and their mentality on that lagging mindset, they become very anxious, they become very fixated, but it's not very result driven. Even though that's what they live and that's what they think, and that's what they are obsessed about. But the world is going to fill your day with lots of stuff and lots of distractions and so on and so forth. And therefore, can you achieve that? Maybe not. But there's a lot of stress involved if your mentality and your psyche is always, obsessing around that. So think instead of managing your daily routines. And then your daily routines must be filled with leading activities that will move you towards those goals. So if you find, for example, I'm going to, in order for me to read the Bible end to end at end of the year, I need to have at least half an hour of free time where I can be quiet by myself. Then your plan needs to revolve around how do I get that half an hour free time by myself and not worry about read the Bible end to end. Do you get what I mean? So leading indicators versus lagging indicators. Don't get caught up with lagging indicators, because if you're obsessing about that, it becomes a daydream. It becomes something that you're always thinking about, but you're not acting on. Whereas when you focus on your leading indicators, you will start to identify what are the factors that influence those goals, and therefore what are the factors that you need to zoom in on a daily basis.
Hi, John. Where were you when I was growing up, John? I mean, if I heard this before, I would have read the Bible from page 1 to the end and from the back to the front many times over. I always got stuck in those lagging areas in the growing up years.
And then we get stressed about it. We get stressed about it. Are you? I haven't done it. I haven't done it.
You feel guilty
at the
end of the year. You become
demotivated as well.
You feel guilty at the end of the year. You feel guilty, and then the New Year resolution comes in again and say, "So, this year I better spend more time with my kids. I better spend more time with the kids." And when I do that, spend more time with my kids, this is a lagging indicator, right? And I said the world's going to come in, distractions, work, crisis, and so on and so forth. And all of that is going to stop you from spending more time with the kids. But if you say on a daily basis, I'm going to set aside 20 minutes. I'm going to find a way. How do I set aside 20 minutes from 7 o'clock in the morning? Maybe wake up half an hour earlier and spend the time with my kids. You're going to find that at the end of the year, will you have spent more time with the kids? Absolutely.
Nice. Very interesting. I hope you're learning something from John today, because we sure are. Father wanted, to rewind time and go back to his childhood as well.
Go back to my growing up days. I mean, I
so did I, man. When I learned this, I went like, I had the same reaction. I'm like, yo. But here's the good news. Today is the beginning of the rest of your life. We established that in the beginning. So,
John, as I was once again, as I was listening to you, some thoughts kind of triggered for myself. You talk about business goals, you talk about personal goals, but we also can't run away from the reality. This last 2 years has been very, very challenging for a lot of people. Even our own Christmas show was an attempt for to give people some kind of hope, and things are slowly beginning to pick up in whatever way. I mean, people are going out, more people are out. I mean, I'm not here to judge whether it's safe, not safe, but I think people just feel that they need to get out for some way, for the mental sanity also, the health of the person. For someone who has been, then we have the floods. If it wasn't enough for the pandemic, now you got hit by the floods, and we know friends who are really lost literally everything. John, what would you say? I mean, for people like this, what should they look out for? I use the word to rebuild their lives. I mean, in a practical, in a very down to earth way, when they have lost so much, everything. Sometimes, you think that's. I mean, I don't want to belittle or insult anyone, but sometimes you feel like it's life is not worth living. When it rains, it pours, kind of thing. I mean, literally, actually. How would you motivate people like this from your own coaching experience?
Okay, so 2 weeks ago when the floods hit KL, it was something that was totally unexpected. It was something that none of us and could have anticipated, right? And I sort of knew that there was going to be floods because you look at the sky and it didn't stop raining. And I spoke to my wife and my kids and I said, KL's going to be bad. KL's going to be bad. And I thought KL is going to be bad means Dataran Merdeka flood, which is Dataran Merdeka every year. They get pretty bad floods. I didn't expect it to get that bad. And on the second night when things started getting really, really nasty, we actually, went out to see what we could do. And it was a pretty helpless feeling because everything was so disorganized. There really wasn't much that we could do other than buying food and supplies and then, giving it to whoever that we could give it to during that night. But then the next day, there were lots of calls on Facebook, and friends were texting and so on and so forth. And they said, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. And we then said, look, can't sit around. We can't sit around. Let's go do something. What are we going to do? Don't know. Do something. And that's what I think people need to do. And it's way easier said than done. And I say this with all due respect of those who have faced the challenges and the difficulties. I don't mean to belittle your challenges. And I know that if I was in that situation, it would be really, really rough on me as well, because we ended up on little rafts and we were paddling in to help people who wanted to come out. And we did several trips like that, and I could see the devastation firsthand. And for those of us who are not affected with the flood, you don't understand the amount of damage that that has occurred. And we tend to think, so it's simple for me, right? We were paddling and we reached a place where we couldn't pass because the cars were parked all over the road. That's what I thought. And I'm thinking, what? Like, these people parking? Why are they parking everywhere in the middle of the road? And then I realized it wasn't that they parked everywhere in the middle of the road. It was because the flood waters were so strong that they had jammed all the cars and lifted them across the street all the way down and jammed them into a place where they got all stuck together. So that was the force of water that we were talking about. Okay, just to put things into perspective of how bad and how damaging it was. So first point I'm trying to make here is that you can't do everything, but you can do something. And you don't want to sit around waiting for something to happen. You know that whole phrase of in this world, there are different types of people. Some type of people, they wait for things to happen. The other type of people, they make things happen. Yeah. So actually, that's very, very true. That is very, very, you can't do everything, but you got to do something. And something is better than nothing. And this is on both perspectives. If you've been stuck in that circle, your business has been affected, whether it's COVID, 300,000 businesses went down in the last 2 years. Close to 1 million people lost their jobs in the last 2 years. It's not been a good time. And then some of those people gonna flood some more. Aduh. And when you look at the flood, I had a couple who was in the raft, and as we were paddling, making small talk, like, "You doing all right, bro?" And like, "What to do? See my car? I just bought last month."
Oh no.
And I am thinking, wow, I wouldn't know what to do. But went back, thought about it, and I said, it doesn't matter what you're doing, do something. Because when you're not doing anything, that's when negativity comes in. That's when sometimes a sense of entitlement comes in. Somebody should come and help me. Somebody should do something for me. Somebody, government, etc., etc. I have a sense of entitlement, and I have a sense of hopelessness because it's not me. Somebody should do something for me. So my advice is, you go do something. And it can be anything at all, but do something. And that something will lead to something else, because there will be progress, and that progress will lead to something else. That progress will lead to something else. What is success? Success is a repetitive behavior with little results on a daily basis. And it builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. And I see the people who are cleaning their homes, and success is a daily habit. You think you can clean a home in one day after that kind of flood? It's going to take months. Let me tell you something. To get it back to where it used to be, it's going to take months. So if you're sitting around and you're hoping that somehow the house is going to clean itself, no. You look around you. So same rule as the mountain, right? How do you climb a mountain? One step at a time. How do you recover from this? One step at a time. Got no more money. Can you clean the house or not? Can. Okay, go clean the house. Because that gives you the mentality that is self-empowering. It tells you, I am doing something. And the mentality of I am doing something and I am able to do something is powerful, right? So that's my perspective. Do something, don't sit, have the discipline of action. So that's one. And a funny story was when I was rafting, and there are some people who want to stay put. Yeah, some people don't want to come out because they got double-story homes. They prefer to stay there. Just give me some food, give me some water, battery. What do you call that?
Charger.
Yeah. The power banks were one of the most sought after items at that time. And as we were rafting down, I saw this elderly gentleman, and all the cars are underwater, mind you. All the cars are underwater up until maybe the height of the door. Some of maybe the height of the window. They're all underwater. So there was this uncle, and he had a pickup truck. The pickup truck was underwater. Oh. But what he was doing that caught my eye was he was washing the parts that wasn't underwater. So the trunk is underwater. The cabinet and the bonnet parts of it is not, and he's got a bucket of clean water and he's cleaning. He's cleaning, he's wiping, he's cleaning the windows, the top. And I'm like, Pakcik, sekarang apa nak cuci kereta? He said, nak buat macam mana, kita buat mana yang boleh lah. That discipline of action, that mentality of cannot do everything. Okay, what can I do? Can do that, go and do. So in this situation that everybody said, from a business perspective as well as from an individual perspective, if you're going through a crisis in that manner, do what you can. Do what you can, and it will grow and grow and grow as you progress. If you don't do anything, there will be no progress. It's going to continue being dark and gloomy, and you're not going to be attracting people because of energy and activity. So when you're doing something and you're acting, right, there is energy around you. People are attracted to energy. People want to know what's going on. People come and check in and say, hey, what are you doing? I'm doing this, and they say, cool. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can, and so on and so forth. You sort of attract people via the energy that you're on. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of action during times like this. I will, however, say that it is not going to be easy, because those are the times that you don't feel like acting. Those are the times that you're feeling depressed and frustrated and angry. Fake it till you make it. You gotta act. You gotta act.
Father is deep in thought again.
As John was saying, just flashbacks of stories that people have related. The church that I am in, or I was in, was also submerged in 3 feet of water, 3.5 feet of water. And the thing about floods, and I keep saying to people, is that with fire you can try and fight, you can try and put it out. With floods, there's nothing you can do except sit back and see its devastating effects. That's all. Really, you can't do anything. You feel, I felt so helpless, and for people, I think what John was saying, it's a nice story. The Pakcik could do what he thought, make the best out of the situation. And I think it keeps you motivated, keeps you going. That's something that, for our viewers out there, I think that's what we really need to inspire people to. I just wanted to say, it's a matter, the old cliched saying, if you look at a glass, whether it's half empty or half full, isn't it? How you look at life. But for people who
and can you make it half full? Okay, so the glass is full of dirty water, then can you clean the glass? Can you take away some of the water? And it was amazing. I have to emphasize, your car, it's such an easy situation to sit back and say, what's the point of cleaning my car? What's the point of cleaning my house? And when we went in there, the flood waters was still 5 feet high, and this was receded. It had receded 4 feet. The place that I went was probably about 9 to 10 feet of flood waters. So by the time we went in, it had already gone down to 5 feet. And who would think of cleaning your car in 5 feet of flood waters? Nobody would. And is it a pointless exercise? Yeah, you could argue that it's a pointless exercise. I'm saying that it gave Pakcik something to do. It focused his efforts. It stopped him from self-pity. It stopped him from wallowing in despair. And it told him, I can do something, and therefore I will do something. And that's a powerful mentality to have.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Father, I have a question though. We've spoken about what we can do, but in Proverbs 6:9, it says, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So what role does faith play in planning our lives? There's only so much that we can do, but sometimes what we plan may not come out to what we hope to achieve.
Yeah, I think trying some months ago we had this conversation with Father Richard. I don't know if you remember. Doing God's will. How do we know what God wants us to do?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's trying to be able to discern in a difficult situation. What gives you peace, what gives you joy, and like what John was saying. Does it kind of coincide with your core values, your core principles? That helps you to know what God wants. It's very hard to know the mind of God. I mean, I wish I had people always ask me, Father, what does God want me to do? I said, wait, I need to go and borrow the crystal ball from someone and see whether, to know what the mind of, if I knew the mind of God, I would be on par with God. I would be God. You will have to worship me for me to know what the mind of God. But sometimes, you never know. I kind of subscribe to this principle also. God helps those who help themselves also. You have to sit back and just say, okay, God, you will help me. I mean, there's always this story about, you talk about floods, a guy sitting on the rooftop, a boat comes, say, come down, let's go. No, I'm waiting for God to help me. Then a kind of a bigger raft comes. I'm waiting, and finally the flood waters swallow him. I say, God, what happened to you? I sent you 3 people to help you, but you didn't want to go. So sometimes I believe in situations like this, we also need to find a motivation. And I think that note that John was saying, to finding something to do something rather than sit back and wait for people to do things for you, keeps you motivated. It is not easy, Meg. I mean, I'm sure stories that I've heard, people have lost loved ones. It's going to take a mountain of effort to beyond Kinabalu to rebuild their lives and to get back where we were or where we want to be. But yeah, that is challenging. But I just want to be quite a bit more optimistic in the sense that we really, if we set our minds, set our hearts, like what John was saying, to a particular direction and say that I want to do this, even if it's not for my sake, for the sake of my family or my children, you need a reason to say that I'm going to do this, and to find that reason and not give up on humanity, not give up on yourself. In situations like this, however bad it may be. Talking about, I was very curious to find out, John was saying that he took people up Mount Kinabalu. Is that where your company's name come from, the jungle? You take people into the jungle and leave them there or stick them up?
No. Yeah, corporate jungle lah, Father Clarence. Corporate jungle.
No, but I during the holidays, I'm not promoting any movie here. I watched this.
Father Clarence, you want to climb the mountain?
No, I watched this documentary
Netflix
called 14 Peaks. Did you watch it?
14 Peaks.
It's
I'm going to. Everybody's talking about it, so I'm going to. It's about the guy who climbed the 14 highest peaks in 6 months.
7 months.
Like
7 months, yeah. But the determination that he can do it, and I think that's the kind of a moral of the story that I took back, is that when you set your mind to it and you set yourself around people who share the same goals, it is achievable. And that's what he had, a group of people who subscribe to his vision, where all people say, oh, not possible, you can't do it. But the friends around, and that's something that I learned. I mean, I'm not promoting Netflix in any way, but it was a nice kind of a documentary seeing, during the holiday period. I took a few days off just to be motivated by this person's determination. I think that's what we all need for the new year.
Yeah, a little hope and determination.
And,
all right.
And
okay.
As you act, I think the more you act, the more people have opportunities to contribute. And if you're not acting, people don't know what to do. So how did we end up on a raft? Because we went there and we made calls and said, what do you need? Do you need help? Do you need help? And this person says, we need people who know how to paddle. And say, you know what? We can paddle. But we could contribute because he brought a raft there. He went to buy a raft and he did something and he got it there, and he became the catalyst for other people to be able to contribute. Mm-hmm. So in our lives and in our businesses, I think it's the same way. If you're acting, then it allows people to come in and say, hey, when you're doing this, it doesn't give you the kind of results that you want. Why didn't you try this instead? Or it allows somebody to say, if you're doing this, you know what, I've got a friend who knows how to do it this way. Why don't I connect you, and so on and so forth. So people are given opportunities to contribute because you started acting. So whether it's for yourself or whether it's somebody else, the actions that you take, if you take it enough, will have multipliers far beyond what you can do yourself. And I think people don't realize that.
Nice. All right. So, with that, I think we have come to the end of the show already. But before we let John go, John, what is the most important piece of advice you'd give all our viewers this morning, in terms of getting yourself started on a resolution or a plan or, to prepare yourself for the year ahead?
Most important piece of advice. Wow. There's so many. How do I choose which one is more important? I'm gonna take a step back and go against the tide of everything that we've said, and remind for many of us, New Year resolutions and stock taking is not just. So I spoke about action, 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 right? I also want to talk about reflection and not just action. So when we look at, I'm in the learning industry, and when we talk about learning, a lot of us think about learning as acquisition of knowledge. I go to school, I memorize the whatever I'm supposed to memorize. I answer exam questions. I've retained that knowledge, and therefore I've learned. I've discovered that learning isn't quite knowledge. Knowledge is one element of learning. Acquiring knowledge is the first step towards learning, but the other two steps are the ones that make it truly, truly learning versus just knowledgeable. And the two elements are action and reflection. So we've said, go and act, go and act, go and act, go and act. Now I'm going to say, take time out, be quiet, go reflect. And you can think of this as your quiet time. You can think of this as your conversation with God. You can also think of it as quiet time reflecting on the knowledge and the experiences that you've gained in the last 1 year. But regardless, reflection is a critical element that a lot of us miss out. So especially those of you who are like me, we're busy. We're in a corporate world. We have goals, we have sales targets, whatever it is. It's so easy to be action oriented, act. But I think it is also very, very important that I remind everybody: take some time off for thinking. Take some time off for reflecting, because reflection helps you think of new ways, better ways. It may even help you question your goals, whether your goals are what you really want them to be, your priorities, and so on and so forth. So as the last 1 hour, we've been pushing action. I just want to close off and say, also do reflection. Also an extremely critical element in this whole learning process that we've been on, that is called life.
Brilliant. Okay. Father Clarence, what about you? What's the most important piece of advice you'd give all of us, as we plan for the year?
I am just going to add on to what John has said. I agree with what John says, and the great sayings, all these things about at the end of every night, you spend some time on reflection, at the end of every day. And a lot of the saints speak about that. I just want to add to what John has said, in the sense, for me, I think also don't forget to surround yourself or be surrounded by people who love you, and I think a lot of times we forget that, and the people that we live under the same roof with, the people that we see every day, when we get back into corporate life, or we get back into the busyness of our lives, these are the people that we take for granted so easily. And in the last 2 years, we have been in it, through it, with the people that we share the same house with, and they are our best supporters. They are our best, people that, and I think, I say, I mean, a lot of people are getting back to work, but we need to rebuild our lives. Don't forget to rebuild the relationships that we may have taken for granted, and to appreciate them. Even if your wife is just cooking, very simple, basic meals, don't forget to say, hey, the fried rice is quite nice. I mean, I think the little appreciations is something that we often forget. And I often tell people, and I try to remind myself, however small it may be, I think a word of appreciation really makes a difference for people and for ourselves. Just to add to what John has said.
Brilliant. Okay. So, with that, we've come to the end of the show today. We hope that you've gained something from today's episode. And don't forget to like, share, and spread the word, especially if you know of someone who could benefit from the wise advice that has been shared on the show today. With that, Father, shall we end with a prayer?
Yes. Let's, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for the gift of this new year. We thank you for all that you have blessed us with. We thank you for leading us to this point. We pray that this year may truly be a year of recovery for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones, to help us find meaning and direction that is grounded in you, in our faith. Bless John and the work that he does. Bless each one of us for what we do in this little way in this podcast. May it inspire others also to find meaning and to find God. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Father, Son, and Spirit. All right. So with that, we have come to the end of the show, and that concludes Catholics at Home podcast for today. Thank you, John, for spending your hour with us. You've actually shared a lot of good advice, and hopefully we'll put it in practice and change our habits. It takes about 60 to 100 days. So if you're on your path to achieving that resolution of yours, whatever it may be, we wish you all the best. Father Clarence, we will see you on another episode next week. And to all our viewers, once again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us. You have a great weekend, and God bless. Bye-bye for now.